My son-in-law sat across from an attorney and told everyone in that room I was no longer capable of making my own decisions. He had a plan, a lawyer, a printed proposal. I walked in behind my own attorney and set a lockbox on the table. He never saw it coming. What was inside that box changed everything he thought he had already won. I had parked in that lot and just sat there, 15 minutes. The lockbox was on my lap, green metal, a little scuffed at the corners like Ray had carried it around more than I knew. My hands were flat on top of it and they were not shaking. I noticed that. I thought, well, that's something. I did not know yet what to make of it. I do now. If what I am about to tell you has happened to you, or to someone you love, I need you to hear this first. There is a way through. I am not saying it is easy. So I'm saying I came out the other side and I am still standing in my own house, on my own land, drinking my own coffee. That is the reason I am telling this story, not to scare you, because I think some of you need to know it is possible. My name is Beverly Harmon. Most people just call me Bev. I am 69 years old. I live in East Tennessee, about 40 minutes outside Knoxville, in the same house I have lived in for 34 years. I was a nurse for 38 years, started in labor and delivery, watching people begin. Finished in the ICU, helping people leave with whatever dignity we could still give them. I have seen a lot of hard things in my life. But nothing quite prepared me for what happened inside my own family. Has something ever blindsided you from a direction you never thought to watch? My husband's name was Ray Harmon. He fixed heating systems for a living, drove the same truck for 12 years, and left his boots outside the back door every single night without being asked once. Every Friday, he stopped at the corner store on his way home and put a bag of ginger snaps on the kitchen counter. Never said anything about it. That was just Friday. We built this house on 2 acres, paid it off in 11 years, planted a garden in the back that mostly failed, and then planted it again every spring because that was just who we were. 41 years married before he died. What is the small thing the person you loved most always did, the thing you only noticed after they were gone? After I retired from nursing, I ran a small business for 6 years, placing home health aides with elderly clients in our county. I knew what real care looked like from the inside out. When Ray got sick, I sold it. I needed to be home with him. People ask me if I regret that. No, not for one single day. I want that to be clear. Now, Jackson. My daughter Amelia married him when she was 28. At family dinners, he was polite, helped clear the table, always said the right things. But he asked certain questions, careful ones. What had we done with the land? Whether we had updated the wills after my mother passed? What the business sold for? The questions always had a reasonable shape to them, like he was just being practical, just thinking ahead. I let it go because I did not want to make Amelia feel pulled in 2 directions. Ray did not like him. He never came right out and said it, not the way I wished he had. But one Sunday evening, we were sitting on the porch after dinner, and Ray went quiet for a while, and then he said, "That man counts everything, Bev, even things that are not his to count." He did not explain it. I did not ask. I told myself he was tired, and I let that moment pass. Looking back now, did Ray see something that I just was not ready to see yet? After Ray died, Jackson started using certain words when he talked about me. Capable, managing, overwhelmed. Always gently, always framed like concern, like he had been lying awake worrying. The words sounded reasonable in the room and then left a strange feeling after he walked out of it, like when you smell something off in a refrigerator, but you can't find which shelf it's coming from. It took me almost 2 years after Ray died to understand what Ray had meant on that porch. The call came on a Tuesday evening around 7:30. Amelia's voice had that careful, measured quality, the kind that happens when someone has practiced what they are going to say. She told me Jackson had spoken with my doctor, that the doctor had some concerns. She delivered it like a weather report. I was standing in my kitchen and I felt the floor shift underneath me without making any sound at all. Uh, I just stood there holding the edge of the counter. What would you have done in that moment, right there in your own kitchen, hearing those words from your own daughter? What I found out later was worse than I had imagined. Jackson had gone to my family physician without telling me. Not with me, about me. He told her I had been forgetting things, misplacing my keys, that I had called in the middle of the night, confused about what day it was and where I was. The doctor made a note. Family reports concerns about cognitive function. Recommend follow-up. I know that call he was talking about. I had called Amelia at 11:45 at night because my cat Ruthie was breathing wrong and I did not know if I should drive her to an emergency vet. I was not confused. I knew exactly what day it was and exactly why I was calling. But now there was a note in my medical record that said otherwise, and a note in a medical record does not argue back. About 2 weeks after that call, there was a Sunday dinner. The grandchildren were there. Jackson waited until the plates were cleared, and then he laid it out, calm and organized, like a man presenting a project proposal. He thought it made more sense for me to move in with them. Sell the house, free up the equity. Let Amelia be added to my accounts, just for safety, just so someone was keeping an eye. He said, "We just do not want to get a call one day that something happened and we could have stepped in sooner." He said, all of it like it was already decided, like I was a problem that had a logical solution, and he was being generous enough to offer it. I looked at Amelia. She looked down at her plate. She moved a piece of bread from one side to the other. She did not say a word to him. Not one question aimed at me. Tell me, honestly, what would you have done if you were sitting at that table? I drove home alone, made tea, sat at the kitchen table, and the cup went cold while I stared at nothing. I got out a piece of paper because I am a nurse and nurses write things down. Date, time, who was in the room, what was said. I wrote the date. I wrote Jackson's name, and then I stopped. Because the thing sitting in my chest was not the dinner. It was Amelia eyes going to that plate. The particular sound of a daughter choosing not to speak. That was the thing I could not write around. I got up and walked into Ray's room. I have not changed anything in there. His cardigan is still folded over the back of the chair, the green one with the small tear at the left pocket that I always meant to mend and never did. I sat on the edge of the bed and I did not cry. I just sat there. I thought about the porch. That man counts everything, Bev. And then I thought about something else. Something Ray had said in his last weeks, when he was tired but still clear. He mentioned the lockbox at the bank. He said, "Bev, you will know when." He said it like it was settled, like I would understand it eventually. I told him I did. And then I went 3 years without opening it because I thought I did not need to. I picked up my phone from the nightstand, set it back down. In the morning, I called the bank. What do you think was waiting inside that box? The bank opened at 9 o'clock Monday morning. I was there at 8:50. A young woman with a lanyard led me to a small room in the back. No window, table just big enough for 2 chairs. She set the lockbox down and left me alone with it. Smaller than I remembered. That same green metal. Ray had carried it to the bank himself and never said another word about it. I opened the first thing was a living trust, drawn up by an estate attorney in Knoxville, properly notarized, signed 2 years before Ray died. The house was in it, most of our savings. I read the name of the designated trustee, and I read it twice because I needed to be sure. It was not Amelia, it was Nora, my younger sister in Asheville, who I had barely spoken to since we stood at Ray's graveside. The second thing was Ray's letter. 2 pages, yellow legal pad, the kind he kept in the nightstand drawer. His handwriting was uneven because his hands had already started shaking those last months. And he had not wanted anyone to make a fuss about it. He wrote that he did not hate Jackson, and he wanted me to know that. But he wrote that he did not trust a man who asked about things that were not yet his to ask about. He wrote that Amelia has always let on what someone's due, the deciding when she is scared, and that was not a flaw so much as a fact, and I needed to know it going in. The last thing he wrote was, I set this up so you have time, Bev. Time to choose. Not them. The third thing was a single folded page, a printed email. Jackson had sent it to a real estate brokerage in Knoxville, asking about the estimated value of our property and the general timeline for listing after an estate transfer. It was dated 7 months after Ray died, nearly 2 full years before Jackson sat at my dinner table and told me I needed help managing my own life. I sat in that room for a few minutes. I cannot tell you exactly how long. There was no anger. There was something cleaner than anger, something close to the feeling I used to get in the ICU at 3 in the morning when I could see exactly what the situation was, and I knew, step by step, what came next. What would you have done with that piece of paper in your hands? I did not call Amelia. I did not call Jackson. I called Ava. Ava had worked beside me for 11 years before she retired. We met at a coffee shop on the east side of town, not at anyone's house. I did not want this conversation inside 4 walls that felt personal. Ava listened to all of it without saying a word. When I finished, she picked up her coffee cup and set it back down and said, You need an estate attorney. Your own, nobody's referral. She had a name. Over the next week, I did 3 things. I met with James Wheatley, the attorney Ava recommended, and I brought the full contents of the lockbox in a manila envelope. I scheduled a cognitive assessment at a clinic with no connection to my family doctor. The results came back normal across every category. And I called Nora for the first time since the funeral. I told her what Ray had put in the trust. She had not known. We sat on the phone together for a moment without either of us saying anything, and that silence felt more like something real than a lot of conversations I have had. Do you have someone in your life, one person, you know you could call if something like this happened to you? 2 days before the Thursday meeting Jackson had scheduled, I got a text from Amelia, not from both of them, just from her. It said, Mom, I need to talk to you before Thursday. Alone. We met in my car in the Kroger parking lot on the main road. She got in the passenger seat, and within 2 minutes she was crying, the kind of crying that has been building for a long time. She told me everything Jackson had told her. The midnight calls, the stove left on, the doctor's note. She said she had been scared for me. She said she trusted him. She thought she was protecting me. I listened to all of it. Then I asked her one question. Amelia, did you ever call me yourself? Did you ever once just pick up the phone and ask me directly? She looked at the windshield. She did not answer. I did not feel that silence for her. After a minute, I said, I will see you Thursday. She nodded. She got out of the car. If you were Amelia in that parking lot, what would you have said? The meeting was at 10 o'clock Thursday morning. Jackson had chosen the office, a local attorney he had used before, someone who did not know me. The room had a round table, 4 chairs, and a window looking out at the parking lot. When I walked in behind James Wheatley, I watched Jackson's face. He was good. He barely moved. But he had not expected James, and he had not expected the manila envelope, and a man like Jackson always notices what he did not plan for. He started the way he had planned. Same proposal, same calm order. Power of attorney shared between himself and Amelia. The house sold for liquidity, a managed account for my expenses. He used the words stability and safety more than once. Amelia sat beside him and looked at her hands. James waited. Then he set the file on the table and said, Before we proceed, we need to establish what assets are actually available for discussion. He opened the file and began reading the living trust aloud. Every clause. No hurry. I watched Jackson's attorney. He was leaning forward at first, and then he was not. There was a moment, maybe 10 seconds, when his posture went completely still. I have seen that look before. I have stood at bedsides and watched the exact moment a person understands what the numbers mean. It is a particular kind of stillness. It does not make any sound. Jackson said it did not seem right, that they should have been informed. James answered him directly. The trust was established by Ray 2 years before his passing, fully valid, fully notarized, and Amelia had been made aware of its existence earlier that week. I looked at Amelia when James said that. She looked back at me. Then James reached into the envelope and placed the printed real estate email flat on the table. He did not say one word about it. He set it down and left it there. Jackson did not speak again for the rest of the meeting. What do you think goes through a person's mind when the thing they planned falls apart that quietly, with no argument left to make? I did not tell anyone outside that room what happened. Jackson has not contacted me since. Amelia called about a week later on a Sunday, and the way she spoke was different. Not rehearsed careful, just careful, the way a person is when words matter to them now. She did not say capable. She did not say managing. She asked if I was doing okay. I told her I would not be signing any power of attorney documents for the foreseeable future. Not because I do not love her, but because I have spent enough years watching what happens when trust has no structure around it. People mean well right up until they do not. She was quiet. She did not argue. My family doctor called after I submitted the cognitive assessment results. She apologized for recording a family report without speaking to me directly. I accepted the apology and scheduled my next checkup. Whatever Jackson carries from this inside his own marriage is his to carry. That is not my concern anymore. 3 weeks after Thursday, I drove to Asheville. 6 hours through the mountains. Windows cracked even though it was cool. A radio station playing old songs I knew every word to. Nora met me in her driveway in a yellow cardigan. We stood there for a second before we hugged. We ate dinner and talked about Ray, about our grandmother, about summers we were small and the creek behind her house. We did not spend the whole night on what had happened. Some things we let sit in the room without naming. Because we did not need to name them, when I got home, I called the county hospital about their volunteer program. I go in 2 mornings a week now, helping where an extra pair of hands is useful, talking to people who are scared in the way I know how to talk to scared people. I did not do it to fill time. I did it because I needed to remember who I am when no one else is doing the defining. A few nights ago, I sat at the kitchen table. Same yellow light from the fixture Ray always said he was going to replace. The tea was hot this time. I had a new journal in front of me, plain cover green. I opened it to the first page. I wrote, Ray left me a lockbox. Inside was everything I needed to remember. The house is mine. The life is mine. And I am not finished. If any part of this story felt familiar to you, I want to hear about it in the comments. And if you want to know what I wish I had done earlier, before any of this started, that is what I am covering next. It is shorter than you think, and it matters more than most people realize until it is almost too late.